Welcome to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Lorraine Michaels, former EMT and nursing assistant, now business owner and wild entrepreneur. I walked away from over 15 years in medicine to pursue my passion and my God-given talents. Now, I get the honor of helping other women discover their passions and purpose. If you're feeling stuck in life, unsure where to go or what to do, welcome. If you're exactly where you want to be, great, you're welcome here too. If you have faced any kind of hardship or setback, you have found a safe place here. In other words, no matter who you are, or what you've been through, or what you're going through, this is the space for you. On the Bite Size Podcast, we'll discuss life, business, and faith. There's something for everyone. So grab a cup of coffee and something to take notes with, because there will definitely be things you won't want to forget. Welcome back to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Lorraine Michaels, and today we have such a cool guest. I have been so excited to have Mercedes on. I was introduced to Mercedes, met her through Lindsay Schwartz in Powerhouse Women, and also through the Six Figure School. I love what Mercedes does because she works with the brain. And if you follow me or you listen to this, you know that I absolutely love teaching about it and helping bring to light the power that we have in healing our brain and how powerful our brain is. And so Mercedes is the owner of NeuroGen Brain Balancing out of Arizona. She's also the host of the Abundance Generators podcast. And I'm so excited to have her on today and to talk to her and to pick her brain about what she sees in other people's brains. Mercedes, welcome to the Bite Size Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Lorraine. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. So I barely touched on, probably didn't give any justice, but I would like you to tell us what it is that you actually do with the brain.
Right? Yeah, people are like, so what exactly is brain balancing? Is my brain balanced? Am I good?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I won't get like crazy sciencey on it, but basically all we're doing is rewiring the brain and creating new healthy neural pathways. So biggest question I ask is, how does it work? Are you going to shock me? Is it going to hurt? What are you putting on my head? Because yes, it is an in-person service. We are actually connecting little leads to your head so I can see your brain waves on the screen. So I can literally see if your body and your mind is stressed, if you're tired, if you're anxious, and all kinds of stuff. That's all it shows. I can't see obviously like your thoughts or anything weird, but it just shows the activity of the brain. So yeah, we use what's called high performance neurofeedback, which is again just like a fancy way of saying I'm just helping gently stimulate the brain, creating new ripples that literally create new neural pathways. So I think of it as like you're fast tracking your nervous system regulation. It's an amazing tool to use on top of like your journaling, your meditations, all of the stuff you use to rewire your subconscious. This is just doing it for you in a passive way, which I think is really cool.
Amazing. I freaking love it. What are the top 5 reasons that people would come to you?
Biggest ones, honest. So it can help with a whole slew of things, but I'd say the biggest ones that people come to me for is, which another thing I forgot to mention, it's actually, we get to the root cause of why it is you're dealing with what you're dealing with, not just covering up the symptoms. So a lot of people don't want to take medications for certain things. Not that I'm opposed to medications either way, but for instance, I do see a lot of people for migraines, for ADHD. Those are two of the biggest ones, improving focus, productivity, better sleep, actually being able to fall asleep faster, stay asleep, and wake up feeling well rested in the morning. Again, all without medication. So I work with a lot of kids who have ADHD and their parents either want to get them off of the Adderall or whatever it is they take, or they don't want to get them on it to start. I worked with tons of women on migraines who currently have migraines, and they've literally they're gone after X amount of sessions. It's different for everybody. But yeah, so those are the biggest ones, but it can help with literally so much.
So I want to go back to you mentioned the whole ADHD, either getting off of the
Mhm.
medication or coming to you prior to because they don't want to be on the medication. So, what does that look like for, let's say, a young child who is recently diagnosed with ADHD? What advice do you have for the parents that are struggling with their children with the focus and the behavioral issues? How does that help?
Yeah, and so I'll just preface it with like I'm definitely not like a therapist or anything like that. So, what I do, it's like I said, it's a physical in-person thing. So I don't necessarily have like a ton of tools to coach through like how to work with ADHD outside of this, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But a lot of the times, like when parents do come to me, and to give you examples, I work with it's surprisingly a lot of 12-year-olds. That must be like the prime age, like 11 or 12. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, we're bringing them in. And what I love about this with kids is that their brains are more malleable. So they start to see results literally after the first session, which is so
Wow.
crazy. I literally have a little girl, a 12-year-old, and she is struggling really, really hard in math and just homework
Mm,
and schoolwork and all of that in general. I mean, there's a lot of focus in with that, but
yeah.
she, after her first session, was able to actually like complete all 30 of the questions or most of the 30 questions in the time frame given, like in math class. And she's never made it past like 7 of the
Oh, wow.
30. So like
Wow.
she was super excited, super proud of herself. Her parents were excited. So yeah, so just little things like that. I don't know. I just love hearing the stories of the kids that are, and then
Yeah.
for the parents too to actually like have your kid be able to listen and understand and like not get so easily distracted and all of the things too. It just
Yeah.
it balances the whole family.
So what is it when you're hooking up the electrodes to this child's brain to head and you're seeing the brainwave activity, what is happening in the session that is going to help them when they leave, after they leave?
Yeah, so the way it works is a two-way feedback. So again, I am putting, and it's not a lot. It's like it's five little sensors. Three of them don't even move the whole time. It's just feeding, it's reading it back to the machine. So I use an EEG. So it's a little box,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what's the two-way feedback portion. So it's reading to the computer the brain waves, and then the computer is the system's putting back tiny impulses that go every like 5 to 10 seconds, and it flashes for like what the brain needs. And so what's cool is
Oh,
it can be super customized because I can put it to different spots. So if say someone that has ADHD versus somebody with a migraine, we'll just target a different area to hit that different thing. So I can completely customize it to whatever it is that they need. But
yeah.
yeah, so I'm literally seeing the 5 different brain waves, like delta, beta, theta. Like I can see all of those on the screen. And usually, not even just kids, but most people in general, the one associated with like stress and fatigue is the one that's spiked really high. So when you're actually looking at my screen, like I can literally see the huge jump. So the goal is to get it to come down. So
Yeah.
usually with like subsequent sessions, I can see that it starts to come down and it's getting more balanced with each visit. And then eventually you don't need me anymore.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Briefly touch on for those that might not know the brain waves, and
hmm
what they represent. So I know like the delta, isn't that one that is like what associated with concentration? Super interesting to me because I always pull up like brainwave music that stimulates what I'm trying to do. So like if I'm trying to sleep, I'll put on music that stimulates that whatever brainwave that I need. Theta, beta. I don't remember all of them, but I know
Um,
like there's when
yes.
you're
To
sleeping, your brain goes into different stages.
Exactly, yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, so delta, that's the one that sorry, I'm like, I probably should have these memorized at one point, I've just never needed to. It's right there for me, they're all labeled. So yeah, so delta is the one that I look at the most because that's the one that's usually always really elevated, and that's associated with, like, stress, fatigue, PTSD, like, that's just basically saying, "Hey, your brain and your body is, like, physically tired." You might not feel it, or maybe you do, because I've even had people come in that are like, I'm great. I'm not perfect, but like I'm really good. Like, how can you help or is it going to make it worse? And I'll hook them up and I'm like, well, you might think you're great, but this is showing otherwise. So there's probably a little something we can fine tune here to get you even better. So
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. It's like, it's literally like, it's right there. Like, it's not. I don't know, the data doesn't lie, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're
But yeah,
seeing
to
it.
answer your question too, I can truly see. So the idea is you don't have to do anything for it. So it's actually a really calming experience. You don't feel it if we do some red light therapy in the beginning just to get you in that more calm state.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I can even see it's the alpha, which is the awakened meditation, will sometimes start to rise if people are like actually relaxing and they're chilling out. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So I don't know. I just think it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
something not new to me. I just opened up in the summer. So what's that? Maybe like 5, 6 months ago. And yeah, I just even still like every day, I'm like, oh, this is just so cool that I get to do this every day.
I know, that's awesome. So, as a mom, with young kids, how has the therapy impacted parenting or your approach in parenting? Or have you used it on your kids?
Not my not my kids. So I have a 1 and a 3-year-old, so it's
Oh,
safe for kids. I personally have never had to just because for me, they're just too young to really tell if they would even need it right now,
yeah,
right? Let
yeah,
alone getting a 3-year-old to sit still for 20 minutes in a chair. So that's its own struggle.
yeah,
But I actually started it for myself. So I have been on like my own like nervous system regulation wellness journey the past couple of years. And I heard about this because there was another person certified here in Arizona who did it. And she opened up about a year before I did. And I did a couple sessions with her. And so I was like, I absolutely love this. I didn't really notice a big difference until the third session, but I didn't realize how anxious. I knew I was stressed, being a business owner, a mom, all of the things. I left my corporate job 2 years ago, or about a year and a half at that time. Just all the stresses of day to day life, right? Just kind of creep up on you. I didn't realize how stressed and how anxious I was, though. And then the mom rage, like just built up, pent up anger
yeah,
that I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want to explode on my kids or my husband, but I sometimes would. And it's like,
yeah,
I wanted a different way to deal with it, that sometimes I would forget to go and have that like breath in the closet by myself. And like in the heat of the moment, I'm just like,
yeah,
get over here, stop
yeah,
screaming. And it's like,
yeah.
okay,
As
the
you're
kids,
screaming.
yeah, I'm screaming, telling you not to scream, and everybody's crying, and it's not a cute
Yeah,
sight, okay? So yeah, after about the third session for myself, I literally like the best way I can describe it is I didn't know how anxious I was until I didn't feel that way anymore.
anxious.
It's not
Yeah,
100%. It wasn't like, oh, one session, you're good to go. They say the average adult needs about 10 to 15 spread out over time.
yeah,
But yeah, after my third one, I was like feeling a little lighter. I was feeling like things didn't bother me as much. When
yeah,
my daughter would freak out because she wanted the purple cup and not the pink cup, and she'd have a full on meltdown. I feel like I personally just handled it better because I was starting to rewire that neural pathway of like, hey, let's chill. This isn't a reason to freak out and yell back at her. Let's deal with this a little differently. So those
yeah,
are the changes that I personally started to notice, and it's just gotten better and better with each session. So
yeah. And so does this work or help with people with trauma or PTSD?
yeah, so it actually originated. So NeuroGen's the name of like the head, like the technology, right? That's like the
Yeah,
box, the EEG that I bought, the system I use. It's NeuroGen. That's their technology that I bought and opened my own practice with.
yeah.
And it was actually created 10 or 11 years ago now for veterans with PTSD. Like that's
Oh,
how it all
wow.
started. And so
Yeah,
once they created that for PTSD specifically, they just after being around for so long, they saw it could do so much more than that. So yeah, that's why I'm like, it can literally help with pretty much everything, anything and everything in a sense that has to do with the brain because it's all
yeah,
connected, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's so cool. I love it for all of those different reasons.
That is so fascinating. So
Yeah.
when you're doing a session, are you talking to the patient? Are they doing anything, any type of exercise, or are they just sitting there?
Yeah. So initially, we're in like I was in like the refining mode, right? Is you open something new, you test, you try things. So I initially, you come in, you don't have to do anything. The person doesn't have to do anything. They just sit in the chair and like literally like look out the window at the whatever's outside my window that day. And so you don't have to do anything for it. It takes about 20 minutes to do, 20 to 25 minutes. And initially I was talking and chatting because you can talk, you can move, you can do whatever. But I've decided to make it a little bit more of like a zen and like a whole experience. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I think like when I go and get a massage, I don't want the person to talk to me for an hour. I want to
Yeah.
sit and forget about my problems because that's why I'm here. That's where the stress came from. Don't talk to me about my stress.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So I started to realize that I actually had a mom who came in and she made a comment, not that it was a bad comment, but she was just like, I would pay just to sit in this chair in silence. And I was like, I love that idea. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm just the one that feels awkward, like I'm silent, like a hairdresser that's not talking. Like I feel like I should engage. So we recently incorporated. So now I play calming spa music. We have the red light therapy that gets you like
Yeah.
in the calming mood. And if they want to engage in chat, great. If they don't, that's fine too. Just this is your chance to just chill. And
Yeah.
honestly, I get a better reading on the screen when you do chill because again, it's your brain is working for you to move
Yeah.
your hands and for you to talk. So if you're sitting there in the chair wiggling and talking and turning your head, I see the spikes. So I actually get a
Yeah.
better reading when they just sit still.
Fascinating. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think the calming experience in its own, it's like a whole thing because not many people are doing that. Because neurofeedback, there's a ton of different modalities and ways to do it. The system that I use isn't the only one out there, but I just looking around, I think I am one of the only ones that actually does it in like a calming way.
yeah. Oh, that's so rad. I love it.
Yeah.
So, are there are there any common misconceptions that you find or that you're running into, or people have the same general questions when they come in about brainwave therapy or what it is that you're doing?
I mean, biggest question, which I totally don't mind, is obviously everybody wants to know if I'm going to shock them, if they're going to feel it. Is it going to hurt? And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you're not getting like a lobotomy over here. Like, you're totally fine. No shock therapy. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is they just want to know, like, it's not a common thing, right? You say, oh, I do neurofeedback, and people are like, what's that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just that's the common misconception is like what to expect while you're there.
Yeah.
So, which again, no, you're not. I'm not shocking you. Some people feel a slight tingle, but other than that, not really, because it's such a teeny. It's a microcurrent, so it is electricity entering the brain, but your body is already an electrical current anyways, so it's not anything new to the body.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, there really are no like negative side effects, which I think is really cool. Some people get like a slight headache, maybe feel a little extra tired that day.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like you go to the gym for the first time, right? You're not going to expect to walk out and feel like fantastic after. It's probably going to suck and you might not want to go back the next time, but you
Yeah.
know it's going to get better.
Yeah, yeah. It's kinda like, so I've been through a whole plethora of therapy and trauma therapy and EMDR and brain spotting, and I remember the first time I did brain spotting, and it wiped me out.
Yeah.
Like, the session was so heavy, I cried, like, it was just so I don't wanna say awful because, I mean, after the fact, it obviously I made breakthroughs, but after and the day after, I was just like, "Ugh," like a zombie. It was heavy. So I can
Imagine.
yeah, I can understand, people's hesitancy or a misconception of like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna unearth something that I have suppressed for so
Yes.
long.
Well, that's the thing. This is a very different modality than saying doing like something like that or like a traditional therapist or even like hypnotherapy. Like, we're not diving in and like resurfacing issues or problems that you might be having. All we're doing is just creating again that new pathway to tell your body, hey, you don't have to forget, but we don't have to bring it up every time either. It's like it's like I like to think of it as like a filing cabinet, like for in a sense, like with PTSD, right? Or some kind of trauma, is it's probably coming up for you because you're just constantly thinking about it every day because your body never really got the chance to fully heal and recover from it. The brain's still bringing it up every single day. All
Mhm.
we're doing is training it to say, hey, let's put it in the back of the filing cabinet so it's still there, but we don't need to keep it forefront every single day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
had some really good success with that. So,
yeah. Oh,
yeah, and I
that's
think
so
that's
good.
why people love it is because you don't have to talk to me about your
Mhm.
feelings, about the problems. I could literally have no idea why you're here aside from saying, "Hey, I have some trauma. I have PTSD." I have anxiety, I have headache, or whatever it is. Like, you fill out a little questionnaire and I just know ahead of time. And all I ask is tell me on a scale of 1 to 10. So I at least know if we're making progress. Because with every visit, I want to know that it's getting better so we can adjust if needed. But you don't have
Okay.
to tell me why. You don't have to rehash it with me. Like, I'm not a
Yeah.
therapist.
Yeah.
So, and if you want, but you don't have to, which I think is a great way. Like, and probably another common misconception is people think they have to tell me about the feelings and the
Mhm.
problems to overcome them. And they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Ooh, I hope people don't miss that part of it, is that we're not unearthing anything, this isn't talk therapy. In fact, you don't have to say the reason why you're coming at all.
Yeah.
Just sit down and relax, and this little machine is gonna give your brain what it needs.
Yeah, and I
Oh
will
my
preface it with, not to say that any of those other things are bad. I actually have a lot of people who still do both. They still like to go to therapy because that's unhashing it in a different way. That's helping you
right.
process it in a different way than what I'm doing. So they
Yeah,
work hand in hand together. It's not that one is better than the other. I like
yeah,
to think of it as just like another tool in your tool belt, whether you
yeah.
do meditations or hypno breath work or hypnotherapy or any other kind of therapy. This is just another thing to do in addition. It doesn't have to fully replace.
Right, 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 right. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, so we talked a little bit about this prior to the pivoting. So we know entrepreneurship is a journey in and of itself.
Yes, it
So
is.
you didn't start out doing this. You were at a corporate job, and then you tried another business, and then it actually led you to this.
Yeah.
So I know you had said you found this because you tried it yourself, but where were you in the corporate world? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so I kind of preface like what all these random businesses have been. I always wanted to be an investor. I wanted to be an entrepreneur and invest in real estate. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I was reading all the books, right? I was doing all the knowledge but never acting on the knowledge for literally 10 years. Like, that was me. And so I, with loving real estate and wanting to get into real estate, at 18, 19, I was like, cool. So you actually need money to like buy an investment property. So like, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah.
So I got into weird. I mean, yes, there's creative financing. I won't get into that. But, a 19-year-old, I'm
OPM.
like, so how am I going to, yeah, like, how am I going to buy said apartment complex with the $12 an hour I'm making right now? Cool. Love that
Right.
for me.
Yeah.
So I got into real estate at 22. I got my real estate license and I actually worked with a home builder for most of my 20s. That's the job that I left at 28. So in 2022, so I did that for almost 6 years. Was making a really good income, saved up a lot, did all of the things, had the 401k, all the stuff you're supposed to do in life, right?
Yeah.
And I just still always like, I'm like, no, I know I've wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was in high school. Like, this isn't what I want to do forever. And I'm sure this was like all across America, not just Arizona, which is where I live. But housing market kind of started to tank around 2022. If anybody like remembers, it's still kind of
Mhm.
in it right now. And I was like, if I'm going to walk away, which I knew I wanted to at one point, I'm like, this is the time, because
Yeah.
I was commission based. And when you sell new homes or real estate in general, you don't get paid until the house closes. Well, guess what? I could sell a house today and we still have to build it. And then I get paid in 8 months when it's closed, if they close and if they don't cancel mid
Yeah.
build, like, which was
Yeah.
happening a lot because the rates were climbing and people were getting outbid and it was starting to get really expensive.
Yeah.
And so I walked away from almost no dollars. And a lot of people walk away from a multi six figure thing if they decide to walk away when the market's good. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I'm going to leave now because I got nothing to lose. Like, I could go
Mhm.
and make more money doing in my business that I was doing, which at the time was financial education. Because hello, I had been educating myself for 10 years and I loved it. And I wanted to teach. I was, 26 when I started that business. And I'm like, there's
Yeah.
so many other 20 and 30-year-olds that need to know this information. And I just kind of sparked that out of passion. And
Mm.
we joked about that. I'm human design and manifesting generator. So I had like a million ideas all at once. I feel like I burnt myself out in a 2.5 year span
Mhm.
and really made no money in it. So then I started to get really discouraged. I already quit my job. We're a year and a half in. My savings is dwindling. I was the breadwinner of the family. Like, we were having to dip into the savings every single month just to cover our
Mhm.
basic expenses.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was getting really, really stressful. So I kind of took this little break in March of this year. I kind of shut the financial business down, was debating. I actually did interviews to possibly go back into the new home world. And thank you, universe, because I didn't get any of the jobs, which I thought was really weird. But looking back, I'm glad because I didn't want to, but I was getting desperate or felt like I was getting desperate.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what led me to, I took that month or two off. Just to like a mutual, just I'm a part of a lot of like women's groups here, so I heard about this through somebody else, and they were wanting to actually offer it in their program. But she was like, hey, this is something that I heard of, it's really cool, I think you would love it, it's like right up your alley with all the stuff you've been doing just internally for yourself the last 2 years. I want to offer it to, it's a coach here in Arizona. She's like, I want to offer it to my like clients, but I can't get certified and also do it at the same time. I could totally see this as a business you might be interested in, and then we can just collaborate on like that together. So
Oh,
I was like,
cool.
it's amazing. So that's how I heard about it. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
did the certification, bought the machine, did all the stuff, opened up my own practice, and then now I just offer it as like a collaboration to like her with her clients. They just get it as like a
Yeah.
discount through me. And then yeah, then I have my own standalone business that I can obviously bring in whoever I want to. So and do other
Yeah.
collaborations. I work with families and just all of this stuff. So that all started, yeah, like I got certified back in May of this year. And yeah, we opened up end of June and slowly but surely growing.
That's awesome because I was going to ask you also when we were talking um about collaborations because what you do and how you've experienced or explained it, I was just in my mind, I'm like, that would be so amazing to do in a spa or coupled with a different type of coaching or a different, you know what I'm saying? Like that, what you do is definitely needed and people need. Um, also, and it would pair so beautifully with other modalities or other things that people are doing for themselves. Um,
Yeah.
yes, so I feel like it's something that you can definitely collaborate with many other people. Um,
100%. My like list of like, okay, again, it's like this running like entrepreneurial list of all these things. They're like, okay, I want to do this today. I want to do this today. And it's like the list just keeps growing. So we're
yeah,
trying to tick off as like faster than it's getting added onto. But yeah, I feel like I'm really excited about I don't want to say like the trajectory of it, but I feel like I been laying the foundation for the last couple of months. And I think like for anybody listening that either is an entrepreneur or just starting out or anything like that, or just feeling they're in like a plateau, I feel like that's the hardest part is to not get discouraged and to not give up with it because as much as I wanted to just like blow this out of the water right when I opened my doors and I'm like, this is amazing. Why doesn't everybody want to do this? What do you mean? No. What do you mean you're too busy? What do you mean you
yeah,
don't want to drive to like come and see me in the office? And I just thought it would like take off right away and it
yeah,
hasn't. It's been great. It's been good. I've already made more than I did in the 2 years with the financial business. But I also have higher expenses now too. I bought the machine. I have rent. I have all this other stuff
yeah,
versus just my Kajabi website that I had
yeah,
previously. And like,
yeah,
you're good to go. So I would just say like now it's just like that rewiring. And again, I still do like sessions on myself sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little anxious. Let's just like, let's do a little something here because
yeah,
I start to feel like, okay, cool. We're laying the groundwork, the foundation. Like
yeah,
I have to remind myself I completely pivoted businesses. So people I met last year who knew me as financial education, they're like, oh, what do you do now? So it's like that was
yeah,
my own limiting belief that I've been working on getting over is that
mm,
it's okay to pivot because I've kind of made a couple career changes in the last 2 years. And I
yeah,
didn't want it to seem like I was like flaky in one way
yeah,
or the other. So, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
again, it's like my own limiting belief I've had to overcome and like actively working through that it's okay to
yeah,
pivot
yeah,
and it's okay to like completely start fresh. People understand and they do it all the time. I'm just grateful I recognized it in my 20s versus, way down the road. So,
yeah, yeah, or like in your 40s, like me.
no, no, it's more late than never, right? You hear of people reinventing themselves like in their 50s and 60s. So I feel
Yeah,
like it's never too late. And honestly, yeah, just
yeah,
I think it comes across when you're passionate about what you do because if you're trying to grow it just to grow it for the money or the potential or whatever, people will start to see it. And I think that's why my financial coaching didn't pan out the way I thought was because it started out of passion and then I was getting frustrated because it was like, okay, cool, people are interested, but no one's buying. So
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
point? I just lost interest in it. I'm like, well, this isn't fun anymore. I'm not making any money. Like, forget it.
Oh my gosh, Mercedes, you're like totally lighting a fire under me for functional nutrition. It's
Yes,
so
I
funny
love
because
that.
I literally have been having this conversation with friends, with my husband, and he's been telling me, he's like, I really think you should do the functional nutrition. And other people say the same thing, like the health and fitness, you really need to lean into that. And I'm like, I don't want to be known for that though. Like I just don't
Yeah.
want to, because I know all the other stuff that we were talking about offline, people need, and it's what got me here. But just listening to you and seeing your growth and how, I mean, you are lighting up talking about it, how you were once passionate about this, but then you found this, and this is actually even more so for you. And now you're successful in it. And it's just totally, sorry,
Yeah.
everybody that's listening, but this podcast is for me only.
We're just one to one here. No.
Yeah, I know, right?
I feel kind of similar to you. Like when I got into this whole neurogen and brain balancing and nervous system regulation, that wasn't my background. That's not what I wanted to be known for.
Mhm.
And I still want to be, I fully see myself on like stages and as a speaker. Like I already have my outfit picked out for my first whatever on stage. Like I already know what it's going to look like. And like, but I don't see myself talking on the topic of brain balancing. Like I don't, yes, I love the
Mm.
business and I love that and I love that it helps people, but that's not I don't think, at least, maybe it's maybe not, I don't know. We're putting it out there into the universe. The universe will answer. I don't know. But
Yeah.
when I vision myself talking on stages and like talking to people, and maybe like for you that's where like the personal brand comes into play. Like my podcast, The Abundance Generators, doesn't really have anything to do with brain balancing and like my actual job, if you want to call it that. It's about like life as a whole. Like I love talking about the nervous system regulation in the sense of pivoting and life changes and abundance in
Mm.
life, which kind of tie hand in hand with what I do, but not necessarily what I talk on stage about. Right. And so
Right.
maybe that's it for you, is
Yeah.
like, hey, you should get a
Yeah.
coaching session for this now. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, that's things I think about, is like, what do I want to be known for? What do I want to like? I love so many things. And again, that's just that manifesting generator, which you told me you are too. So I'm like, that's
Yeah.
probably it. You're multi-passionate. Like literally
Yeah.
that's it. So not to say you have to like, and that's what I'm teaching myself, is like, you don't have to put yourself in this box of like, okay,
Mhm.
this is my niche. I can only talk about this niche in these
Mhm.
3 content pillars. And that's all I can talk about because nobody cares. And I don't want to confuse people. And it's like, but you're a person. Like you
Yeah.
have more than 3 content pillars in your life.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I
Oh,
have to
that's
remind myself of this every day too. So I'm just speaking it to the people because I'm sure
right.
somebody else out there needs to hear it too.
Yeah, for sure. I can't help it. I'm multi-passionate. I love all things. So
Said, hey, it's a good problem to have. It's better than no passion.
I know, exactly. Like if all else fails, my husband can always count on me coming up with a business plan because I'll find and figure out something to market, sell, create, coach, speak. I'll do whatever. Like, hey, if it lights me up, I'll do it. All of a sudden, I mean, I've always kind of been like this humanitarian, but with my freedom of time and ability to help, like the unfortunate things that have been happening, like the hurricanes and whatnot in North Carolina, I have been able to go out and help. And that has also like lit a fire under me as well. I'm like, I need to like tell more people about this, and I need to like raise awareness and raise money and all this stuff. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should be a humanitarian.
7 Instagram accounts for all your different businesses. I do not recommend. I have 2 and it's a lot.
0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Oh my gosh. Mercedes, thank you so much. It has been so fun talking to you about the brain and how you've gotten here and your passions. I love the fact that you are a manifesting generator also. And I can't wait to see how this business is going to take off and what other businesses are going to come from it and what collaborations are going to come from this. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm so happy to have met you through Powerhouse Women and Six Figure School. I can't wait to see you at the next event. or the
Yeah.
next time that I'm in Arizona, well, I'll fly to the other coast. And I can't wait to get together with you. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. I feel like we're the same. We could just like chat all day. So
I know, right? Awesome. Friends, I want to make sure that you know where to find Mercedes. So make sure to check out the show notes. I'm going to put her Instagram, her website as well as her podcast, because who doesn't love a new podcast to obsess over and binge listen to? Thank you guys for being here. If this episode has helped you, or if you know someone that needs to hear it, please share this episode. Tag us so we can say what's up. As always, remember, you were divinely created for a divine purpose, and there was no mistaking you. Peace out, guys.